Okay, I want to talk a bit about melancholy, since I realized I used that word in the previous video without really defining it. The point about melancholy, first of all, in the Renaissance, they did something called faculty psychology, where your mind was composed not of id, ego, and superego, as Freud would have it, but of four humors. And those humors were seen as biological components of your body. And you could be choleric, you could have an excess of anger, you can be bilious, where you have too much bile, you could be phlegmatic, where you have too much phlegm. These were all seen as various humors. Melancholy was black bile, and that melan is black. And so it's the dark humor. And when you're taken over by it, you're in a certain mood. In other words, melancholy is not a consequence of something bad happening to you. It's not, gee, I'm depressed, I lost my job. My boyfriend or girlfriend threw me over. I had a fight with my best friend. My baseball team lost. My football team lost. My football team keeps on playing Tim Tebow. It's not a response to that kind of thing. It's a permanent condition. And I mean, you see that in Hamlet, where Hamlet, of course, has reasons to be unhappy. His mother and stepfather have conspired to kill his father, the king. But over and above that, he has this cast of melancholy that is kind of overdetermined, that you can't, there's not an antecedent for it. And, generally even today, when people study depression clinically, when people study depression, it's something that there is not just one antecedent. Oh, well, she's depressed because this happened to her. It's a condition. And the Renaissance people, in a way, saw that and talked about melancholy as this kind of a pre-existing predisposition that one has. Melancholy, as Milton indicates, though, is not all bad. It can be contemplative. It can get rid of the vain, deluding joys. My birds are not being melancholic at all. They're being quite, I don't know, choleric, but they're certainly being happy. The melancholy can lead to a greater focus, to a greater apprehension. It could be a mode of wisdom. Robert Burton, Milton's contemporary, who was a physician and who wrote a huge book called The Anatomy of Melancholy, which is a only half-readable book, but very interesting book. And melancholy becomes almost the patron mood of learning for Burton. And it's similar here with Milton, that Il Penseroso can have greater wisdom than L'Allegro. And even though he plays a good game, he argues the case for both. And again, like a good lawyer pleading for his client, he argues the case for joy and L'Allegro very ably, and similarly for melancholy, but you feel his slightly greater sympathy is for melancholy. If any of you feel differently, I'm open to that. If you feel Milton actually likes joy more, that might be an interesting comment to make on this video. In any event, I thought, since I realized I was using melancholy without defining it, that I'd give a definition of it. Okay, I think this is finally the end of my videos for you guys. Have a good Thanksgiving.